but here we go.
All
Okay.
right.
All right, Steven. So I kind of want to. We're gonna take the third quarter, and whenever you're ready, jump back in. Uh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you got to push X2. Okay, it's fine. This defense used to be good. Um, we're gonna take the third quarter, and we're just gonna kind of talk about what it's like to be an FCS fan and wake up on a Saturday and like be jazzed about going to an FCS football game. So, because college football, it's very much turned into the spectacle. It makes 18 to 22-year-old kids kind of celebrities. It's sort of it's a different feel. But then there's the FCS thing to where, you might not recognize some of the players off the team walking down campus um, at your school because they're not blasted everywhere like celebrities. They're not like a Johnny Manziel who probably, has more money than anything. They're smaller school kids going to a program where they could advance to the NFL, but most likely won't. So, Steven, what's it like to be an FCS fan and go and experience FCS game day?
It's a very different experience, I think. Um, with college football, it's all about the pageantry is what the buzzword is for this. You really don't feel it quite as much unless you're at like one of these smaller schools where all the people there love the school. You don't get these what we call the Walmart fans very often when it comes to these smaller FCS schools. So everyone there is all in. Like it is crazy hyped at these FCS games.
Yeah, you definitely know that when someone's taking a Saturday to be a season ticket holder at like a smaller school, or they're there because they want to be there. They love the team. They're not there for any other reason but just there for the team. I liked our school a lot. For those that don't know, Georgia Southern University, especially when we were there, was the one of the most winningest FCS championship programs of all time. We had our stadium held around 18,000 people until it got expanded, and we had won championships early in our program, and I'll admit it, we were rude. We were a horrible fan base. If you came to Statesboro, it was not a good afternoon.
Yes, we were notorious for the power of Paulson is what we call it.
Yeah, which Paulson Stadium is fairly loud because of how it's built and the people in it, but then also the fan base is intense. I remember when Steven and I were in Southern Pride Marching Band together, which is where we met. Um, I think was it App State came to town or who was it? But there was one team, and they had a backup tight end with the number 81, and he was just and he was being a backup, right? He's on the bench. He would get up, walk around, get something off the water cooler, and we just like ripped him to shreds.
Oh yeah, it's crazy too because like some of these FCS fans, like they have, I don't want to say they have nothing better to do, but they will actually take the time to look up opposing teams, um, like rosters, and like learn about the players. And like they were like, 81, your mama's so and so, she cooks good. Like, can we get some more of that? And just just random talking about like personal things to these players, and like it really gets under their skin.
Yeah.
And I remember for a while there, they had, I think it was during the playoffs when we were hosting a bunch of playoff games in Boston, that they required us to block off the like first 12 rows behind the team, so we couldn't do that.
I do remember that. There are some old Georgia Southern films where you can see the stadium is full, but there is definitely like a big tarp to where they can't get closer to the team,
Yeah,
which is wild.
it's crazy the amount of heckling goes in.
Right? When you're at an FBS game, ah,
Oh, what was the flag for?
I bet it's for intentional grounding.
Oh, yeah, I'll
Even
accept
though I didn't get out of the pocket, so it's intentional grounding. So Jimmy G throws intentional grounding.
that.
Oof, this game. Anyways, my favorite playoff story. I don't know if I told you the story or not, but we were playing South Carolina State in the first round of the playoffs, and this is when it was like near the end of our time at Georgia Southern. and I was working at a retail store at the time, and I was sitting there at work, and a gentleman came in, and he bought a hat because it was cold. And he bought a hat to put on his head because he was bald, it was cold. And I said, "Oh, are you here for the game today? You're excited?" And he just looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, well, we're the #1 defense, so you got some work to do." And that was his that was his response. And I said, "Wow." And then Georgia Southern took South Carolina State all over the field, up and down, beat them heavy-handedly. And I looked for that man as I walked back home. Like, you want to talk some more smack? You want to talk some more smack? You've got to catch those things. Samuel was knocked him down with one catch.
One of my favorite playoff memories is a playoff game, I think it was 2010 at Wofford. And holy crap, there were so many Georgia Southern fans. Because Wofford is a small college in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I think they averaged maybe 10,000 fans a game. And we roll up there in this playoff game. We filled their entire visitor stand, and I actually ended up on the home side because we actually spilled over and filled 2 of their home side sections. There were so many Georgia Southern fans there, and it was just so crazy. Like the back and forth with the fans over there was awful.
Yeah, I do remember we walked out of a Wofford game one year, and one of the people said, Georgia Southern, they're covered in diseases. And my wife really got the temptation. She just wanted to walk up and lick the person just to mess with him.
Should have been like diseases and championship rings.
Diseases and rings. All right, so as that goes, so you're an FCS school, but then we transitioned to FBS. So what was that like for you, Stephen? How did you feel about the whole transition?
It was interesting process because, in a way, you basically don't have much to play for 2 years. Because as you're still in the FCS, you're not eligible for the playoffs in your last year in FCS. So our last year was in 2013. So really, our championship game actually ended up being one of my favorite games of all time, Georgia Southern, when we went to Gainesville and beat the Florida Gators. And that was kind of all we had to hang our hat on for that season because of the transition. And in the second year of transition, you're considered an FBS member, but you're still not eligible for the postseason. And normally, you're not even eligible for your conference championship, and that's usually left up to the conference. And luckily, in our instance, the Sun Belt allowed us to play for the championship, the conference championship, our first year in. And thank goodness, because Georgia Southern decided to go back to its roots and run the table and win the championship in its first year as a Sun Belt Conference member.
Yeah, we did. That was pretty awesome. I liked the transition. I would say it's all culminated to now, where Georgia Southern played in my dream game, which is watching them play in the R&L Carriers Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana, which I think it was. We're just going to let you run that in.
So how is the New Orleans Bowl your favorite?
I just think it's so cool to have, because this is when we were in schools watching the game. I knew the Sun Belt was going to be our kind of conference, so that was where our brand would best fit. And I love the idea. First of all, New Orleans is an amazing town. Very much said on this show all the time. Huge fan. But I think it's just really cool. Did you really get that? I got the 2 points on me. It is 24-7. I hurt. Anyways, NOLA is just an amazing place, and it's the concept that you get to go and play in the Superdome, and you get to travel to support your team to a town that's a lot of fun to go to. And I just thought it was just so neat to be a part of a conference that get to go to that game. So it just sort of felt like dreams come true for me to go. And I didn't go to the game, but to see my team be in line to go to that game.
So I did go to the New Orleans Bowl this past December. And man, you're right. It's amazing. But the only downside is of course, it was during the whole COVID pandemic year thing. So it was weird seeing basically New Orleans almost completely shut down. Like
Wow.
after the game, we went and walked down Bourbon Street, and there might have been 100, 200 people spread out across all of Bourbon Street.
Wow.
Yeah. But the game itself was actually
Oh.
really, really good. Georgia Southern beat Louisiana Tech. I think it was 34-3. Like, awesome game, never in question. But it was like, I want to go back because that like you said, the Dome is awesome. New Orleans was awesome. I just wish I could have seen it, in its prime.
Did they have a Cafe Du Monde in the Superdome? Like, could you get beignets and coffee in the Superdome?
I don't recall. I don't remember seeing one.
Did you go to Cafe Du Monde when you were in New Orleans?
We did. We actually went to the original at the French Market.
Yeah.
And
big fan.
And got a couple. Yeah, it was good.
Get some beignets, some coffee, then come back in like 6 hours.
Yeah.